right here on WOCA, The Source.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Not a bad-looking Wednesday. The weather looks nice in the forecast. Mild conditions, 85 degrees is the high. And then tomorrow, summer kicks in. 93, 97 the next day. Yeah, summertime.
We still need rain, though.
Can you imagine if there was like a mysterious hole in the ground? I'm going to use a crazy little metaphor right now. So there's a mysterious hole in the ground, and everybody wants to know what's in there. So somebody has the decision, makes the decision to go into that hole, and they come back like 2 years later and say, "Wow, what was down there?" You would listen. You would know that this person who went into that hole, whatever took 2 years to discover, he's got a lot of information, right? Our next guest has an amazing story to talk to you about, and it's about an amazing man who is, I believe he was an Italian in World War II. Pino Lela, I think is his name. Pino Lela. I may be saying his name wrong. Mark Sullivan, I believe, has been with us before, correct?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. He's
marvelous.
He's an outstanding author. This particular book we don't have yet, but I am looking at the cover of it on our podcast right now. So if you're watching us on the streaming, you'll see this cover. The book is called Beneath a Scarlet Sky. It's a novel, but it's based on a true guy. Mark Sullivan. Good morning, Mark. How are you? What an honor to have you back on the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Larry. I really appreciate it.
So am I right? Is that the real name or is that the fictional name?
His name is Pino Lela. He's Giuseppe. Pino means little in Italian. So when he was a child, he was called Giappino, which was Little Joseph. And the name stuck. It's been with him his whole life. He's 91 now. He's definitely the most amazing person I've ever met.
So why is this a novel?
The novel is because so many people had died before I got to the story. The story takes place in World War II in northern Italy in the last 2 years of the war. And Pino becomes, among other things, a spy inside the German high command, and he's part of an underground railroad getting Jews out of Nazi-occupied Italy over the top of the Alps into Switzerland.
So it's like a German, like an Italian Schindler.
It is like an Italian Schindler,
wow.
Except there's a big espionage story in there as well, and a love story.
And he's risking his life. In Schindler's case, I don't think he was risking his life, but Pino was risking his life, wasn't he?
You know, he's 17 years old when he volunteered to start guiding Jews and other refugees over the top of an incredibly large mountain called the Gropera in northern Italy, and he would take them starting early in the morning. 2, 3 in the morning. They would climb in the dark so that they couldn't be spotted in the villages below, and then he would get them over the top. The climb's unreal. I've been there, I've done it, and to think that these people did this in street shoes with this 17-year-old kid guiding them is just remarkable.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. So in other words, we're reading a true story, but you had to fill in some of the blanks.
I did. So many people had died, and at the end of the war, the Nazis, as most people know, burned documents. This was especially true in Italy with the organization Todt, which was the German organization that he was spying inside. That he was the driver to the general in charge of this mysterious and little-known arm of the Nazi war machine. And he was able to report to the Allies through his uncle, who was a big member of the resistance and who had a radio, that he would radio Pino's observations to the Allies almost every night that Pino was active as a spy. Just an amazing story.
Wow.
And this is not just an amazing story historically, but it really is an amazing story personal for you because you might not be here today.
That's correct. I heard this story on the worst day of my life 11 years ago. My little brother, who was also my best friend, had drunk himself to death, had written a book that no one liked, and I was on the verge of personal bankruptcy. I realized that I was worth more dead than alive and almost drove into a bridge abutment on a snowy highway. But images of my wife and my 2 sons stopped me.
My goodness.
And I was as rattled as I've ever been in my life. And I begged, God and the universe for a story. And believe it or not, that night at a dinner party that I did not want to go to, that my wife forced me to go to, I hear the snippets of Pino Lella's story.
Oh my!
Oh my goodness, that's a story right there.
That gives me
chills.
chills.
Can I just talk a little bit about the depression you went into? In addition to your brother losing his life, but you also had this depth of depression because a book you wrote nobody liked. I want to talk about that just for a second, even though it's a little bit of a tangent here. Here's why. Because Robert and I talk to authors all the time. And this is what I know about people who write books. You dive into it. My metaphor in the beginning now makes more sense than I realized, because you literally dive into a hole and don't come out for 2 years, and then there's a book that comes out of it. And if we pay attention to it, we'll get some information from it. And in your case, because you've got this skill and this talent to tell a story, so that not only is it interesting in itself, but you make it. I guess I hate to use the word entertaining, but you keep our attention with the way you write. That's what I've learned about you. And so it only makes sense that you dedicate 2 years of your life to something, or more, or a little bit less, maybe, it depends. And then to have, some critic just to brush it off, that's nothing, That to me is heartbreaking. So I was relating to you, I guess, even though I don't write books. But I can understand it, yeah.
Yeah, it's it is you dedicate your life to something, and when no one wants to publish it or it didn't come out the way it turned out, it's hard, because you have invested 1.5 to 2 years of your life. With this book, I invested 10.5 years, and I'll tell you, I never once doubted the story.
10.5 years. Wow.
It took me. Yeah.
How did you get to meet him? You met him, right? You interviewed him?
Oh yeah. He's a friend of mine now. I went to Italy. I spent 3 weeks with him the first time. I've been back to Europe 4, if not 5 times, researching the book. I was in the Nazi war archives in Berlin, and in Friedrichsburg, Germany, in the archives in Rome, in the Chancellery archives in Milan.
What is
Great Britain? Go ahead.
I'm just curious, what is his life like? Does he live in a little tiny house somewhere, or is he a rich guy, a poor guy? What is his life like?
His life is, he's 91. He still lives con smania, which is an Italian term with passion, which was always what struck me about him, is that when I went to see him 2 years ago, he had just been in a motorcycle accident at 89.
Oh, my gosh.
He ran across the street to me. He lives life to its fullest, and has since the moment I've met him. He doesn't waste any time. He thinks every moment's a miracle, and it should be celebrated.
Okay.
And I've learned a lot from him.
You hinted of the power of prayer before, not to be too religious here, but you did. You hinted at it, and I'm wondering if that's not true for him. I wonder if God said, you really helped out a lot in that war, so let me give you a nice life, and maybe it has nothing to do with money and everything to do with just enjoying life.
I think it was both. He was an incredibly fortunate person after the war. First of all, he was raised in a fairly well-to-do family. They were big in the fashion industry in Milan. But he basically goes in the course of the story from being a very privileged kid to being right at the center of some of the most horrific things that happened in World War II Italy. And he comes out the other side of it devastated, and yet manages to go on and lead an amazing life, an adventurous life. He has always had faith in the goodness of people. He's one of these people who has never met a stranger. Very genial. Always tries to downplay what he did. Just an amazing person, and a very spiritual person. It affected me greatly.
Yeah.
And that's like our soldiers from the United States that came back during World War II. They don't like to talk about their experiences over there, and that seemed to be the same with the partisan fighters in Italy, because we don't hear as much about the fighting in Italy. It just seemed to be so savage and so horrendous.
Yes. I found over the course of my career that when you talk to someone who's really been in combat, they don't want to talk about it. People who boast about being in combat, I have a lot of suspicions about immediately, because if they're talking about it, there's something wrong. And especially in Italy, I was just stunned at how many people don't talk about it in Italy. And this is Americans and Allied soldiers as well as members of the resistance. A very close friend of mine growing up, while I was in the early stages of researching this book, his father, who I knew well, died, and Victor went up into his attic and was rooting around after his father's death, and he found a box that contained a Silver Star for Valor for his actions at the Battle of Monte Cassino in Italy. He had told no one.
Wow! Oh my gosh! So when you're doing research like this and talking to somebody like that, I mean, how do you steer the conversation so you can get the information that would make that you could use for the book?
I always tell them people should know the story.
Yeah.
People should know it. It shouldn't be buried. People should know what happened and why it happened, so we never forget what happened, and we don't repeat the same mistakes.
Do you know the importance of what they have done? The importance of what Pino did. I hate to say Pino. Let me say Mr. Lela. The importance of what he did is only underscored by the horrendousness of what Hitler did and what all of Hitler's men did. It's just. I mean, that's the other side of this, is that the reason there was a need for somebody to step forward and be brave and do these amazing things is because there was somebody else doing something so cowardly.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, that's the incredible thing about World War II, is that we had this very, very strong source of, no matter how you describe it, it's pure evil. And the fact that true goodness raised itself up to fight in instance after instance after instance is extraordinary. And it speaks to the power of, the human soul and the human spirit to fight evil.
And you not only delved into the archives, into the writings and interviewing the people, but you also managed to put some kind of a funness to your research, because you actually hiked and skied in the Alps to verify the escape routes. And that must have been really amazing for you, overwhelming.
He was always downplaying it. Oh, any alpinist could have done this, and anybody who was experienced in the mountains. And then I went up on the Gropera and saw the escape route, especially the one they had to use during the dead of winter, because they had to stay on what's called a spine of a mountain, where it's probably the narrowest, steepest part, because the wind would blow the snow off the spine, and they could get footing.
Oh.
And you get halfway up the thing, and you're looking, and this is steady. This is a tough climb, but it's steady. And then you get to the very top, and you come around and you look back down the spine, and it just takes your breath away.
My gosh.
People climb this in the dark, and with this kid leading them, it's just amazing.
Mark Sullivan is our guest. He has been with us before. He's an incredible author, and this book is an incredible story. It's called Beneath a Scarlet Sky. Beneath a Scarlet Sky, sorry. It is a novel, but it's based on a true story during World War II. If you stay tuned, we're going to continue the conversation after the break. We'll be right back. If you're watching the streaming video, by the way, you're looking at the cover of the book, Beneath a Scarlet Sky. It's an attractive cover.
It is.
It's a really attractive cover. All right, we'll take a little break, and we'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. On this Wednesday, mostly sunny and warm. Highs in the low 80s along the coast, upper 80s inland. Clear Wednesday night, lows in the low to mid 60s inland, low 70s along the coast. Sunshine and hot on Thursday, the high near 90 along the coast, mid to upper 90s in some inland locations. And Friday, partly sunny and hot, highs upper 80s to near 90 at the coast, mid to upper 90s inland. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
There are only a few things in life that you can be certain will always be around: death, taxes, the pursuit of happiness, and computers. As they continue to advance at an epic pace, the one absolute certainty about them is that they'll break. It's not an if, it's a when. And when it happens, bring it to the only company in Ocala that's certified in Apple and Microsoft, Ocala Mac and PC Repair. They even offer on-site computer repair service, so they come to you. And if you do drop it off, you can check your repair status online. Ocala Mac and PC Repair is a family-owned and operated company that can do everything from mobile repair to wireless networks, fixing viruses, data recovery, even building and installing new systems. Visit online at ocalamacpc.com. In person, 1713 East Silver Springs Boulevard, or give them a call, 352-566-8324. That's 352-566-8324. Ocala Mac and PC Repair.
Veterans are the foundation upon which our freedom is built. Listen to The Source, WOCA, each Thursday at 9 a.m. to Veterans News with Hank Whittier from Vets Helping Vets. You'll hear tributes, information on veterans issues, and stories that will make you laugh, cry, and feel proud. Veterans News always focuses on the military, past and present, and on our first responders. Veterans News is brought to you each week by Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens and Nursery, keeping you blooming since 1952.
20 minutes after 9 o'clock, 68 degrees. Looks like a nice day. Let's continue with our interview with Mark Sullivan, who is on the phone talking about his book, Beneath a Scarlet Sky. Mark, where are you right now? Where are you calling from?
I live in Bozeman, Montana.
Oh, Montana. Oh, my gosh. The state with no speed limit. That's
That used to be so. When I first moved here, it had no speed limit, but it's pretty close.
Oh, now it does.
80 and 85 now.
Did your conversations with Pino take you at all? I'm guessing as he's leading all of these people out of Italy to safety. Where did they go again? I'm not really sure where they went. But anyway, the real question is, as he's with them, I'm guessing he made friends. And maybe did he fall in love at all? Was there any love interest in there?
There is a love interest that happens after the Alps. In the winter of 43-44, he's put by his parents, sent to a Catholic boys' school in the Alps above Lake Como. And the boys' school is run by this very courageous priest, Father Ray, and it becomes the last staging station for people escaping into Switzerland. Over the top of this mountain and down through a place called Valdelay, there's a corner, if you look at it on a map, a very triangular piece of Italy that juts into Switzerland. And he takes them there, and they're met by guides there and takes them down.
My goodness.
When he gets back to Milan, he's told to come back to Milan by his parents in April 1944, and his parents come up with this idea that they're going to save him from combat because he's about to turn 18 and he's about to be conscripted and sent to the Russian front by the Nazis. So they come up with this idea that he's going to enlist in this obscure part of the German army called the Organization Todt, and he'll be kept out of combat. And instead, he's thrust through a series of extraordinary circumstances into this role as a spy inside the command. The general that he drives for, General Layers, has a mistress named Dolly, and Dolly has a maid named Anna Marta, and she becomes the first great love of Pino's life.
Oh my gosh! And what became of her?
I don't want to tell you. It's the integral to the story. But
okay.
It's a deep, beautiful, and tragic story.
The book comes out. The book comes out May 1st. Robin told me.
Yes.
Yes, correct. Correct.
Oh my gosh! This is great that you're talking to us before the book is even out, because now everybody's going to want to get it.
It's
amazing.
It's really wonderful because your publicist said this is your passion. This book is totally your total passion.
Robin told me that.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I heard the story, and when I returned from Italy after being there the first time for 3 weeks, and understanding what he had been through at an extremely young age, and the fact that he had come out of these very difficult, dark times and managed to lead this passionate, beautiful life, it changed me and made me realize that everybody goes through dark times, some of them worse than others. And when you are able to look at your life through the prism of somebody else's, you're healed. And that's what happened to me talking to him. And I vowed when I left Italy that I was going to tell this story to as many people as I could. I had no idea it was going to take me 10 and a half years. None.
Wow. Wow.
But I just believed in the story and kept working at it and digging, and finally it's now coming out.
I want to tell the listeners something. When I went to Amazon, I thought because it doesn't come out till May 1st, I figured there'd be no reviews yet. There are 988 customer reviews. You have a 5-star rating. Oh my gosh! And the book is. You're not making any money on this. It's $9.70 for the paperback, $4.99 for the Kindle. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, the book has come out on Kindle. They did it first through Amazon, and we've just been blown away by the reaction to it. People have just loved it, and it's an amazing thing for me to see.
Wow!
And for Pino, we've been reading him the reviews over the phone, and I mean, he's shocked that people are reacting this way. He's a little embarrassed, but he wants to hug everybody who's written a review.
He doesn't get it, huh? Let me see. Let me hear something. What is this?
What?
Oh, here's the audible narration on.
Unfortunately, we are unable to release a sample.
That's May 1st.
May 1st.
Unfortunately, we're unable to. So, is it an audiobook too?
Yes, May 1st, audiobook as well.
Oh my God!
Does Pino realize that he saved your life literally?
He knows for sure.
Oh,
he knows. Yeah, he's a wonderful guy.
Do you speak Italian?
I can't say enough about. I do not speak Italian. That was one of the great hindrances. I was lucky that Pino's son Michael speaks fluent Italian, and he was able to help me at almost every stage of the work. When I didn't understand something, he would go in and read it for me. In Germany, I had a Fulbright scholar at Heidelberg University from the States who helped me in the archives and helped me read everything. So it was an amazing journey as a researcher, writer as well, because there were so many times where I hit a wall and then out of the blue, someone would come along to help me.
Mark, you gave us evidence that prayer worked in your life, and I have a prayer for you, on your behalf. It is that God sends you, because this is going to be a movie. I'm sorry, whether you want it or not, there's going to be a movie. So I'm not praying that it'll be made into a movie. I know it will. My prayer is that somebody who knows how to make movies is in charge. I don't know who, like a Steven Spielberg, somebody who can do this justice. And that's my prayer for you.
Well, it's my prayer too, and there's no way that I'll sell it to anybody who doesn't have that same vision and passion for it. I'll be involved the whole way. There's no one who knows the story better than I do, except for Pino, obviously.
This is your passion. Do you think this is going to stand out, 10, 20 years from now? Do you think this will still be one of those that just stands out as one of your greatest hits or one of your masterpieces?
I would hope so. I've never heard a story like it, and I've never been involved in a story like it. There were times where we were in places in Milan. There was a place where one of his childhood friends was shot to death by the Nazis in a retribution killing to try to quell the population, and he had never been to the monument that's there in Milan to his friend and 10 others. And when he saw the name, he collapsed in my arms sobbing. It was just an incredible emotional experience to do this story all the way through.
Your story about this story is incredible too.
Yes, for sure.
I am so privileged to have you on the air with us today, Mark. This is one of my favorite interviews of all time right now. So thank you for sharing it with us. I can't wait to read the book or listen to it. I love listening to audiobooks, by the way.
We will buy
Me
it.
too. and the guy who reads it is phenomenal. He's really great.
So I heard the guy who wrote it is pretty phenomenal too. So. Mark, thank you for being on the air with us today. Good luck with everything. My gosh, you're going to fly a rocket with this one. Beneath a Scarlet Sky. I know you can get it on Amazon. I already went. It's got so many reviews and 5 stars. Oh my gosh. And do you have a website of your own?
Yes, it's marksullivanbooks.com.
Okay. MarkSullivanBooks.com. All right. Well, for the listeners, I know you sometimes wait for me to give the book away. I don't have it. It's not out yet. It comes out May 1st, so you got to buy your own. It's
That's
cheap.
right.
It's very affordable. Mark is gonna, he'll have an extra. What's a good wine, Robin? An extra something. I always think of wine and Italy together. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for being on with us today.
Thank you much, Larry.
All right.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. President Trump calling yesterday's Ninth Circuit Court decision to block his order on sanctuary cities ridiculous.